Let's talk Euros. We just spoke about the Copa America and which team has the most pressure going into it. Now the question that I have to pose to you guys regarding this European tournament is, which Euros team is destined to fail? Destined to fail. Not most pressure. The team that you think that by the end of the tournament will be considered a failure.
Can I take the layup and say Scotland? Or do I have to go with like a big profile team here?
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, 20 out of the 24 teams are destined to fail.
Yeah.
You know, you really think about it. Albania, playing great football, but there's just no way,
That
you know?
group, man, is
Slovenia.
tough.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point. Then let's...
Slovenia's here too. Good for them. I think only their second appearance. So, but yeah, I mean, Slovenia.
Should we get cutthroat with it and just name names?
Yeah, we could.
All right. So who are the big four? The big four that have something to gain,
Who's
or
the biggest team
that's going to fail? That's how I'm going to approach this question.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to do it.
I'm cool with that. I got something.
So what are we talking? We're talking England. We're talking France.
Yeah, we're talking those. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking Portugal,
We're not talking
maybe.
Slovenia.
We're not talking Slovenia.
With all due respect to Slovenians.
Lay the ball off. What is that? It's LeBron and Dwayne, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm Dwayne Wade.
All right, Dwayne Wade. Boom! England, baby. It's England. Wow. England.
Destined to fail?
Destined to fail.
Yeah.
Destined to fail.
Historically.
I'm so bearish on Southgate, dude. I do not understand why the FA has him. And I have an English uncle. He is a huge soccer fan. I'm so torn between wanting them to fail because of the Argentine side and having some sympathy. I like the English players. I like my boy Phil Foden. I even feel sympathy for Rashford. I think he's a great guy. Off on the football recently, but
terrible.
I think Southgate's the kind of manager that is going to bottle it by putting Rashford in there in a season where Jared Bowen is making a case for, most explosive impact player of the year. Like, I don't know.
Cole Palmer.
That's fair.
Okay.
It's a lot of penalties, though.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no. But
Ollie Watkins
you are
then?
correct. Ollie Watkins,
Maybe
for sure. I'm just thinking, who is going to make all the wrong decisions? And it always comes back to Southgate for me. And it just sucks because even if I don't want England to win, to see that go to waste is so brutal. So freaking brutal. I don't really see a way around it. I think everybody else has a decent shout, but you want to... People were talking about Harry Kane whiffing big performances after that miss against France in the World Cup, but it's not his fault. It shouldn't, with an England squad that stacked, it should not come down to that. He should have never been put in that position in the first place. And I think that can be directly attributed to Southgate. I think in the last Euros that we saw and in the World Cup and if we want to talk friendlies too, against Brazil, you can't lose. You can't lose to them at Wembley. Wembley is your spot. What's going on? And I think I'm a hater. I blame it all on Southgate.
I think there's definitely a case that England is one of the national teams in the world that consistently doesn't play their best players. This is a European segment. I'm going to keep it there. But with Mexico, the biggest argument is always like Santi Jimenez. Why isn't he starting? When we're talking about England, bro, there's arguably a list of 4 or 5 guys where it's how is this guy not? Why is Jordan Henderson still a starter on the team? Why is Rashford up top? Harry Maguire, Jordan Pickford even. There's genuinely 4 or 5 positions where you look at Southgate's favor and you say, objectively, this guy's probably the 3rd or 4th best guy at his position in the English depth pool. So for that reason, I agree. I think he's going to fumble it with the selection. I don't think he's a tactician, but England are stacked.
Yeah.
So I don't see them losing earlier than a semifinal. That's kind of where I see the floor for England. Purely talent. Sometimes we just see national teams, Hajime Moriyasu with Japan, he just gets carried by the talent. Dude's a fraud, but the team is so good that he's going to achieve a certain floor. That's just what I see with England. So I don't. And is it doomed to fail if you lose in the semifinals? I think you're safe.
Looking at that talent pool, I think winning is the only option. Or
they
finals
should
at
win.
least.
They should win the Euro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't see a catastrophic campaign They're not getting grouped. There's no Iceland again. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't have said it any better than y'all two just put it for England. Southgate, watching Southgate's England is you're just kind of waiting for something to happen, which is so disappointing when you consider that there's, 10 elite players that could be picked, and he just continues to pick the wrong ones, it seems. But as you're saying, it's almost like no matter who he picks, probably at least going to go to the quarters, and you're probably going to get to the semis. They're that good. Yeah. They're that stacked. England's such an interesting team, and I think it's why they're so easy to hate on. They're so easy to root for, to love. Like, England's such a weird-ass team. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with both of y'all's points here.
It's weird because I also do agree with you guys. They could be destined to fail.
We're not used to this.
I just think that I guess I have a little bit more sympathy for Southgate than maybe you guys do, because looking at the gig that he has, I think there's an argument to be made that he has the toughest international head coaching job in football right now. When you look at the options at hand, I mean, so many times he gets criticized, and it's fair because I do think he's a mediocre international head coach. But like, you go on Twitter and you look at what people's potential starting 11 XIs for England are, and they're all different, bro. Because we all don't really know what the solution is to the best starting 11 for England. I think it's one of the toughest puzzles to figure out. And so I'm not going to be harsh on Southgate for not doing it, because I would struggle in that position, bro. I think you would too. All of us would, because the amount of talent is ridiculous. What do you do when you're at the international stage with that much talent, especially up top? It's a headache of a situation to figure out. But I agree with you guys. Like, yeah, ultimately, I think because of that problem that does exist, I do think they're going to be destined to fail. It just sucks because the talent is so good, and it really is so tough to figure out.
It's also tough, too, because even with all of these decisions that Southgate does, he does get some right. I remember when he brought on Calvin Phillips like several years ago. I thought that was an amazing decision, and he was balling at the time. Yep. So it's not like Southgate's the worst manager. He does make some good decisions. It's just tough, as you said, because he has probably the hardest job because he has the most stacked team in all of international football. But it's just so interesting because, my God, do they get real close, man. They get real close. This last Euros, the last two World Cups, like it's hard to criticize England, but it also is easy because you expect England to go to the final every time if you really look at how stacked they are in every single position. Destined to fail, possibly. And that's just crazy to say considering how good they are.
I do think, though, that I'm not going to pick them as the one team out of the big teams that I think is destined to fail. I think there's other teams that have a bigger, red dot on their head. What's the fucking term? Target on their fucking head.
They got that red beam.
Yeah. I think there's other teams that got it more clearly. And for me, the one I went with was Belgium. Ranked at number 3 on FIFA's world rankings. You're setting yourself up with failure with that high of a ranking. Everyone has seen the history of Belgium in the past 8 years with the way their golden generation has ultimately fanned out in these big competitions. I don't see it happening again.
Yeah, Belgium for me was also my pick, by the way. So if I could add
Hey, did y'all talk before we started?
Yeah, right.
Nice.
So if I could add on to why I completely agree with you, it's because of that. The golden generation is over. They're a very talented team, though. They have players like Luis Openda. Kevin De Bruyne is still there, obviously, but then you have Trossard, who's just balling out at Arsenal. He was balling when he was at Brighton. You have Yuri Tielemans, who's, he's decent. Onana as well is pretty good. So it's not like they have bad players. Doku as well.
Is Charles de Ketelaere, is he Belgian?
Charles de Ketelaere from Atalanta also. So they have a lot of really good talent. I just think they're too raw right now. And to win the Euros, it's usually, almost always, it's a very experienced team that wins it. So while they do have incredible talent right now, I just think they need to shape up a little bit more, get a little bit sharper, like they were back in 2018, when they had prime Hazard, prime Witsel, prime De Bruyne, prime Lukaku, Vertonghen. Everyone was in their prime at the time. Right now, everyone's just very raw, very young. So that's why I just think Belgium's set up to fail because of that. They'll be a fun team to watch, though, for sure.
Belgium is a very interesting nomination, and to go full hater mode, the reason that I didn't is because, bro, can you even consider them like one of the big dogs anymore? I feel like
that's the thing. You can't, but they're top 3 and they're the top 6 in the UEFA rankings.
Brother, where's Mexico in the FIFA rankings? We know we can't.
I know, for sure. We can't. Yeah. But looking at the results, they did really well in Euros qualification. Like, they've done things that if it were any other international team, we would be praising.
Sweden.
But that's most Euro groups for qualification. Because there's 50 teams divided by 8.
That's true. I just feel like
Doing math?
That's so valid.
50 divided by 8.
Bro, I just feel like with Belgium, it's like the makeup is off. It's pouring outside. Everything's running. There's nothing to hide anymore. We kind of know who they are. And if you don't, then I think you only play FIFA. I genuinely think you only look at the overall rating of the starting 11. You're like, these guys should win the Euros. Because you just know based on how they performed, they're not at that level. And like you guys said, the golden generation's done. It's finished. We're moving on to the younglings now. And they're just not ready. Another thing with Belgium, though, that I think might protect them a little bit is I'm looking at this group. It's not that bad. Ukraine, I'm sorry. They're better than the Ukrainians. Slovakia, stingy team, but again, I think Belgium are the favorites in that game. And Romania, I think the most arguably underrated European side right now. They had an amazing qualification. Belgium probably draw them. I don't know. I don't see a Belgium grouped scenario, for example. Could they lose in the first knockout round of 16? Yeah, maybe they could, and that'd be a disaster. But I think it'll probably be a round of 16 quarterfinals, and that's about right for this Belgian side.
Yeah, completely agree.
I guess because it's so predictable, I think that's why I see them as destined to fail. You bring up a good point. You don't really even consider them a big team. And I think that is worth noting because what they've done in the past has warranted the treatment of a smaller, mid-sized country. And so I'm kind of with you on this one. And it makes me curious to know who's your number one team then that's destined to fail.
My number one team, I thought about England a lot, but like we already talked about, I think the talent will protect them. It's just like an extra, layer of shield and halo. The team that I went with is the Netherlands. And the reason I went with the Netherlands is I think this team is worse than they were at the World Cup. I think Ronald Koeman is a worse coach than Van Gaal. And if you look at how these guys have been playing with Koeman as the manager, genuinely in about 14 games, the best team they've beaten is Greece. And as a man who lived in Greece and has a very deep connection to that country, they're shite. This Dutch team, every single time, Jack's getting the stats out, every single time they played a good team, they've lost. France, they lost 4-0. Croatia, 4-2. Italy, 3-2. France, 2-1 again. Germany, 2-1.
Wow.
The best win, y'all, I'm not kidding, it's either 3-0 Greece at home or 4-0 Scotland. I'll give it to you. Beating the Scots by 4, that's good.
Yeah.
But those teams aren't ranked in the top 35 in the FIFA rankings.
And you look at their group. Their group is tough.
And that group, dude, don't sleep on the polls.
Mm-hmm.
The
polls, I'll sleep on the polls.
I'll gladly sleep on the polls. Gladly.
I mean, the game is going to be a snooze fest because the boy's going to park the bus. And it's probably going to be a 0-0. Like, they can do enough annoying shit to, get a point with the Netherlands. And who are the other two teams in the
France and Austria.
Come on, bro.
Yep.
Come on, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
France, that's a loss.
Yep.
That's a loss for sure.
They're your daddy.
Guaranteed.
Right now. And Austria, they're so hot and cold under Rangnick, you have no idea. But Koeman hasn't beaten anybody on Austria's level.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking a draw there. It could be a situation where they get 4 points and finish third on goal differential or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of answering my own question. Who's the best team they can beat right now in Europe?
No, that's the thing. That's why I have nothing else to add other than the Netherlands are destined to fail. They are screwed.
Lock them.
They are screwed, bro.
I think the answers we're giving are really good, man.
Yeah,
Belgium and Netherlands.
Could they beat Belgium? I think that'd be it.
Belgium could beat
Belgium
Netherlands.
can be the Netherlands.
Oh, you think so? Belgium is the favorite for y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I consider the Netherlands now to be right in that second tier, but in the lower portion of it. Can they compete with the top 6? Ultimately, no. I don't think they can. They can fight within their region. Obviously, they can beat teams lower than them, but when push comes to shove, I just don't see this Netherlands teams really being successful at this tournament. Yeah, I completely agree.
Dude, I think you need to nominate the other team that you were going to say.
Italy.
Croatia.
Yes.
I was thinking about Croatia.
I think we need to talk about them.
Look, you've got 2 of your most prominent players. One of them is aging out. The other one, Kovacic at Manchester City, has not had a phenomenal start to life. And they're both sort of defensive-minded, especially now. Modric can give you those wonderful moments, but I don't think that they have the longevity that you need for this. And, I mean, look, Modric is going to do God's work, but he's got 20 minutes of God's work in him left a game. And, you factor in the team talks that he's going to give going out there. I don't know if y'all saw the DeAndre Yedlin team talk that the United States got a while back. We clowned that man, and we love DeAndre Yedlin.
Yeah,
we used to love him. But you can't have somebody like that. They do have Modric, so I think that will carry them so far. But, I mean, there's still, I feel like I'm still clinging them and putting them in this box like, oh, well, they, finished runner-up at the World Cup. Oh, they had a decent World Cup this year, before Argentina put on arguably the best performance at the World Cup, right? I don't think they got the gumption anymore. I think it's been phased out, and I think that they're going to underperform according to worldwide expectations. If you really look at it, I think it makes sense how they're going to fall out, which is why I didn't pick them over England. Because, I mean, going back to the Netherlands really quick, I think the Netherlands would give England a problem, just like the United States did. I think the England team would show up and they'd be ready to, for a certain kind of game. The Netherlands are like, the English? Hell no. We're going at them. Mm-hmm. And they would struggle with that. I think it makes too much sense that Croatia would not perform up to what I expect from them or what people expect to them in general. England, the math ain't mathin'. You got me buffering again. I'm like doing quick math. My 54 divided by 8. Quadrupled Harry Kane up top at the 9. It doesn't make sense. But Croatia, I kind of had to write them out. And I hate saying that because I like them. I like them genuinely.
Well, it's a storyline, right? Is 2022, was that the swan song, or is this a swan song? What are we going to see from this Croatian side? And if you look at how they've been playing recently, it's not been that great. They lost to Wales. They lost to Turkey.
They're not scoring really either.
No. And then when they're beating teams like, I think they beat Armenia twice, but they beat them 1-0 both times.
Yes, yeah.
This team, it's an inevitability. You eventually got to close the book. And I think Croatia is a great nomination because I personally will be shocked if they make like another quarters or semis. I'm just gonna be like, damn, dude, these guys won't die. Again, they might be invincible or something, but
yeah.
It's got to happen eventually. It's a tough group, in the group of death. I mean, even Albania, dude. Don't sleep on the Albanians. Yep. Do not sleep.
They'll wake you up.
Bro.
They'll wake you up.
They're
you
going
can
to wake you up.
Albanians are playing their best football right now. You can't sleep on them whatsoever. But yeah, I agree. I just think Croatia's old, and also a lot of their players are out of form right now at club level. So you compare to their performances when they did have really good runs at the World Cup, everyone was in form, and they also had, a leader in Modric, and he wasn't as fatigued or as tired. I just think Croatia, that beautiful run that they pulled off, I think it's ran its course. I would be very surprised if they get past the round of 16. I would be very surprised.
I think quarters is the ceiling for Croatia. Like, I don't know who they're predicted to play if they finish runner-up or something. But
yeah.
If they play a group winner from, I think it would be Group A, talking maybe Germany, Hungary, or Switzerland.
I'm backing any three of those teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gvardio got to put the mask back on. That's what it is.
That's all he's got to do.
Here. Yeah.
Livakovic.
It's a vibe. But if I watch that man walk out the tunnel with the mask on, give it some Batman ears, I'm like, oh, we in trouble.
Yeah, he's gonna have to have another World Cup campaign where he was team of the tournament.
Yeah,
he was amazing. Yeah. He was amazing at the World Cup. But that's the thing, though, is that even Gvardiol, I wouldn't say he's having a bad season at Manchester City, but he's definitely playing in a position that he's having to get used to. Yeah. And I think that's going to confuse his own performances for Croatia. I just don't think everything that's going on right now at club level for the Croatian players not going to help the national team.
Of these three teams, who's most destined to fail? Germany, Italy, Portugal. Let me throw in Spain.
Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain. Destined.
I think the Germans. And I got some German friends, and this doesn't
Scaring
come.
Me with.
I don't. Not the Argentine German allegiance. Not again. Don't run it back.
And we're back.
We're right back to where we started. Look, I don't have any hatred for them after 2014 anymore. That's all played its course. I don't think that the German machine is running as it should right now.
But does it need to if it's in Germany, the Euros? Right?
Damn, that's a good point. Damn, that's a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it needs to,
it's
which is
XP
crazy.
Yeah.
I would completely agree if this tournament was not in Germany.
No, but you are so correct about that. I was so bullish on not having faith in them, but you're right. That being in Germany, I think the whole country is going to get up for that because they have such faith in like a metaphorical remontada of German footballing culture because they've been daddy for so long, and now they're having a bit of a rough patch. But if there's anybody that's like keen at engineering, right, and finding problems and fixing them, it's the Germans.
Yeah,
dude,
they do that at home.
I don't know. I feel like the vibes right now in the German locker room are probably really good. Like, I don't want to analyze one friendly window too much, but it was a big deal that they beat France. Like, it really feels like Nagelsmann, who just signed an extension, didn't he? Yeah. It feels like things are starting to click after a series of really bad decisions for Germany, and of course, they're playing at home. So I completely agree. If the Euros was in Bulgaria, then, maybe they're a little more susceptible, but I don't know. And the team's good. I feel like Nagelsmann's kind of struck oil here with this team. Of course, we'll have to see I want to see one more window. They could lose the next two friendlies, and I'm back on this table saying they're going out in the group stage. I kind of want to nominate, and this is hot. I kind of want to nominate Spain.
What's the case?
Goal scoring, I think, is an issue.
Yeah.
I think it's an issue. I think we saw it at the World Cup, inability to break down low blocks.
Yamal relying on a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The talent's insane.
Talent's great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I honestly, I'd back Germany. I'd back Portugal. Spain, not as much. Yeah, I agree.
Portugal's group is not that.
Yeah.
They got Georgia. They don't take 3 from that. And then Turkey. I'm so bearish. I could not be more bearish on the Turkish national team, especially after the last Euro. They let me down.
They let me down so
Czech
hard.
Republic, honestly, it could be a draw. Could be a draw. Portugal, Czech Republic. It's a solid team. But, yeah, man. And Spain, again, in the group of death. You can't have a bad match day in Group B, or you're going home pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I see Spain going about their Spanish ways, controlling matches, not being flashy about it. I don't see them as ultimately lifting the trophy, and it will be because of the things you pointed out. But I don't know if I would see that as failure for them.
Would you go Italy then?
You're going for the Italians. You want that Italian throat.
You don't like Spalletti? You don't think he the man?
I think Portugal, man.
Oh,
you think Portugal?
Yeah.
Alberto, you don't back Mr. Martinez.
I don't back Martinez whatsoever. And I feel like Portugal has underwhelmed ultimately going out in the quarterfinals of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The talent is always so incredible. On paper, one of my favorite teams to just look at, man. You look at that roster, it is so fun to just look at. But then you see the product on the pitch, and there's moments where, they match that level of quality that they have. And that you're like, okay, Portugal has arrived. Portugal looks great. But then there's really interesting lows, questionable, confusing lows that just don't make me put that trust, invest that trust?
Invest that.
Yeah.
There's another. Invest that faith.
Instill.
There you go.
Instill that faith. Instill that faith.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's just some. Jump in this shit.
Gotta keep that in.
But I just cannot instill that same amount of faith in them because of the lows I see from them. I don't trust it ultimately. I think they might be a quarterfinals type of exit type of team here. And I do see that as a failure compared to these other 3 teams.
That's a really good point. They feel like Belgium. Like
a little
just
bit.
The potential. You're like, what is going on?
A little bit.
What's
They
happening?
won the Euros a couple times.
And they're going to put it all
Big
on
difference.
Ronaldo. If Ronaldo doesn't go, they're going to put it on Ronaldo, which I think is unfair.
It's like playing with LeBron. It does bring extra pressure, even though my man's 39 years old. It's just like a different microscope that you play under. I'm going to throw this out there, and y'all tell me this is fair. I love the Portugal shout, and I almost said Portugal. I just think the group stage will be substantially more difficult for Spain. But if they win the group, I think it's the semis for them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So it's kind of like, all right, if Spain it and they take 6 or something from the group and they go through, I think they'll beat probably Switzerland or something that they'll see in the next round, and then they'll come up against a big boy, and we'll see. Whereas Portugal, I feel like they would have a more easy group stage, and then round of 16, we could be looking at a knockout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think Portugal they're kind of like England, obviously way less stacked, but their base level is just so good. Even though they ultimately probably will underwhelm, I just think their base level of players that they have is just going to be too good. For Spain, though, Spain's interesting, man, because they did prove at the World Cup that, they can play really good football. They definitely ultimately struggled against low blocks for sure, but they had a tricky group. Japan and Germany were not easy for Spain, but they ultimately were able to figure it out. I think Spain will do the same thing at the Euros. They won't go all the way. They're not winning it. I just don't have them doing it, but they have the personnel to figure out tricky games. You get 3 chances in the group stage. I just see Spain figuring it out.
And the Italy game is fascinating. What does Spalletti do? I have no idea.
I don't know how Italy are going to perform. Obviously, the holders, right? But my goodness, I didn't give them anything going into last Euros. I didn't give them anything. They ended up winning the whole thing. So I honestly don't even want to touch Italy personally because, my God, I don't know how they're going to perform. I did not expect their last performance at the Euros whatsoever.
No, nobody did. But I would almost give them a plus for that because we don't know what's going to happen. Even if they don't know what's going to happen, there's talent there.
Yeah.
I think I like that sort of unpredictability. I'm always a fan of the intangibles, and that sort of confusion that's going to drive these like master tacticians of coaches crazy. They're not going to know what to do. And if Italy doesn't know what they're doing either, who knows? It's a slip up in the box. Next thing you know, they're winning the round of 16 and moving on. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Well, how often do you get to be the title holders and also like underdogs at the same time?
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's not many national teams that have been more disrespected than Italy in the last 4 years because they missed out on the World Cup to North Macedonia. And then it was the circus. It was the clown show. Oh my God, Italy sucks. Of course, no one called the Euros Mickey Mouse. Italy won. It's only the Asian Cup when Qatar wins. But the point is, they're not in the spotlight despite being the holder. And they have Spalletti, who I very much rate. And I think a lot of their players are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
So they're the most unpredictable team at the Euros. I think by far the Italians.
Yeah, I completely agree. Which is why I want to say both. They might be the most underwhelming team out of those 4 that you said, or they might be the best out of those 4, bro. I don't know.
Group stage or repeat champions. We have no idea what's going to happen.